Just give me a second and I'll set up a floorboard where we can actually try to perfect the cut that we saw in removing that piece from a hardwood floor. And notice that I'm going to be using 3 different blades and a lot of different adjustments on the saw to get that perfect cut. Okay, we're going to be using 3 different blades for a bunch of reasons. One is that we want to make sure and stop all that burning action. Second, we don't want overruns that go to the other side. We want to stop properly. And third, we want to avoid hitting nails, or at least hitting with a blade that can cause a problem. So I'm going to use the large tooth Japanese blade here, but it's the narrow one. I have more control than the wider one. And these large teeth tend to make a wider kerf and let the dust out. We don't get burning with it. Then I'm going to stay far away from my edges, and I'm going to use this. You'll see how that comes in later. It's got small teeth, and if I were just to run it into hardwood, it would burn like crazy. But you're going to see I'll just use it for a little touch-up, and you'll see how that works. And then any place where you might suspect there's a nail. If I were to cut along this line, there might be a nail holding that board down. I'll change out to the bimetal blade that has metal and wood that would not cut as well. You see the teeth are very small. Doesn't cut wood as well as the other, but you don't destroy any teeth when you hit a nail. So that would be for helping to take the piece out if we're anywhere near nails. Now we could put a stop in, as we just looked at, and put this down. The hard thing is we're in the middle of the floor. I can't clamp it. One thing you could do is some double-sided tape to hold it in place, maybe heavy weight on it, and then it would give you a perfect guide all the way across. If you're doing an inlay job and it's got to be dead on, use some sort of guide. I'm going to do it freehand. Will work. Now, one little trick here is I'm not putting the blade straight out the end of the saw and trying to come down, because it would wobble an awful lot out on the end. I've got it at 90 degrees to the edge, which allows me to rest my hand on the floor. And even the other hand back here is on the floor. So I have both of them sliding across that floor. You see how much control I have by doing that? I'm not in the air trying to just hit this from no place. Now I'm going to stay far away from my 2 extremes, because that fuzz, or the invisible part of the blade, could confuse me, and I don't want to overshoot. And we'll see how we're going to deal with that overshooting or the end of the cut later. But we'll do most of this cut hours going down. Oh, about depth. How deep do you go? Sometimes we think we haven't gone far enough, and we end up going all the way through the subfloor. You notice 3/4 of an inch thick is still only about half that blade. So if you're all the way up to the hub here, you've gone far too far. So you can use that as kind of a visual guide. About halfway up that blade, we'll be breaking through. Let's give it a shot. Notice I did a shallow running cut. I just want to define the line, because once I've got the line defined, I'm in the cut. Nothing vibrates much, so then I can work pretty more rapidly afterwards. I could feel it going through to the floor below. So we've broken through. We've got a pretty straight line across there. It could be more perfect. I used a guide. But we're going to pop this blade off now. And now we're going to come to the segmented blade with its very small teeth, that if I were to really bury these teeth deep down into this hardwood, they'd just collect resin and bind. I'm also going to do a special offset. I'm not going to put it square to the end. I'm going to come out here like this, 1 notch over. Now, why am I doing that? I'll show you in just a second. We'll get this thing on. Put it out there. I just want to show you with this. If I'm on the edge here trying to cut through the floorboard, you see it won't even go all the way, well, barely goes down there. I could just barely make it through. As I come out to the nose, I have a little more depth. That's why I put this cutting edge out here in front of the nose to give me that zone that can work well. But this stop edge is going to be very useful to me. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to come in like this. We're coming down. Now the center part's all cut, and I've got a lot of room for sawdust to move around and to get out of the way. all I'm going to be doing is coming down and cutting this way, but I'm using this. There's no teeth out here, so that as it bangs, it doesn't advance forward in this direction. So I can actually cut that neatly up like that. Let's do that. And as easy as that, I finished that one. But again, with this quick release, I'm going to pull this back off so that I can reposition my blade, because now I need this curve to be on the back side over here, right about there. That should do it, allowing me to come in this way to get the other side. Now I want to show you something. I actually had a bit of an overrun here. It did back up there a little bit because I was up like this. Remember when I told you about the saw being this way? What I really should have done is arrange this saw so that I was basically coming from the other side all the way over here, which means that I could have it down flat on the table. So in that case, I would set the blade to this position here, right about, come on, there it is. Drop that in there. This would be the right way to do it, because now I can work with my hands holding it steady as I come up and get that end to come down. And you end up with the perfect cut all the way down. The very fine teeth didn't have a problem because there was space for the dust behind it. And if we want to take this whole piece out now, we could come along here, even a little bit on the inside, and chop this all out. So it came out and the stuff fell away with a beautiful cut across there.